I've started this 36 by 36 inch canvas on a yellow ground, and I'm using a color shaper brush and just putting random marks and colors down. Just getting started. Not sure where this is going to go yet. So I forgot to turn the camera on for a bit, but you'll see that I added some other colors there of blues and teals. And I'm working now with a wider color shaper brush and with a little more mixed paint. So I've mixed my red with some white, getting a pinky tone. Now when you're working with a color shaper, I find because it has a hard edge that you do tend to get some harder edges and maybe some rectangular or square shapes more than organic shapes. Coming in here with a phthalo blue just to get some more dark in the picture. So I am thinking about values to some degree. Now I've got a Liquitex paddle brush and my phthalo blue is still wet, and I'm coming in with some white paint to mix right on my painting. So this is going to give me more gradients than if I mixed it on my palette. Now I buy my white paint in a big bucket and just decant it out into a smaller container so that it doesn't contaminate my larger bucket, because as you see, I'm dipping my brush right back into it and it is not clean. So I am going to be coloring that white paint to some degree. It also ensures that your large container not only stays clean, but doesn't allow it to get a lot of bacteria in it. So I always do that with larger containers, just as a safety net so that they stay fresh. So my first objective with this is just to really cover up the space, and I'm not wanting to necessarily leave a lot of the yellow color as it is just my background. I'm thinking a little bit about tints and tones though, values, having variety. It's important when you're working like this that you step back from your work often and take a look at it to see where you want to go next. So here I'm coming back in with a stick, one of my favorite tools. The reason for the stick is you can't make these kind of marks with any other tool. I'm just using paint straight out of the tub here, some black paint, and just scratching on with this stick. So I encourage you to find some unorthodox tools, whether you find them in nature or in your kitchen or workshop, at the thrift store, the hardware store. Think a little bit outside the box and try something so that you find some unique marks, and it gives you some freedom over a brush. Now, if you don't have anything, one thing you can also use is the end of your paintbrush. So the handle part, that also can make some neat marks, and I'm sure everybody has one of those. So this gives it a little bit of structure. I've got a woody stabilo now that I'm just doing some random mark making, kind of big loopy scribbles, kind of like a semic writing. So a woody stabilo is water soluble, so it may move a little bit on subsequent layers, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm just more concerned about putting marks on and staying really loose and fluid. I'm coming back in here with a pencil and making some finer detailed marks. Again, just something that looks like writing but doesn't say anything, and using my non-dominant hand as well. Coming back in again with some white paint. So white paint is like your eraser, and of course if you still have wet paint under there, you're going to get some mixing going on. I have a chopstick here that I'm going to try and draw some shapes back in. I didn't really like how that works, so I'm switching up to a bamboo skewer. Has a finer tip on it. Now you'll find doing this type of thing with wet paint, it works really well if you have a contrasting color underneath so you can really see your mark. So scratching in some oval type shapes here. I prefer organic shapes myself over straight linear shapes. So by working in a sketchbook, you can develop your voice by testing out things and discovering what you really like. So in my work, you will see ovals and circles show up quite frequently. So I'd like to say that there would be a part 2 to this painting, but when I went to look for the painting to do the second part, I realized that when I couldn't find it, I had actually painted over it. And I'm not sure why I did that, because I really like where this one is going, but you have already probably watched the video that it became a floral painting where I had a lot of fun putting more color and marks on it, and I just got really carried away and had a lot of fun, and it turned into a floral painting. So it's a huge departure from this abstract, and I really do like the floral painting, but I'm liking where this one is going too, and unfortunately it's under a whole bunch of layers. So I may have to get another fresh canvas and go out doing some more abstracts and finishing them off. I'm going to turn the canvas here. I always find it helpful to look at it in different orientations, and it's also sometimes easier for on a big canvas to turn it so that you can work on it, you know, without having to reach so much. So let me know in the comments if you like abstract paintings and if you'd like to see more of this style of video. I'm using a kid's roller here just to roll over this. It makes a little bit of pattern. It's lifting up some of my wet paint. And again, I'm just experimenting to see what happens when I do things. I'm not really aiming to get a finished painting at this point. I'm just considering this kind of my playful stage after my ground. So really my second layer. My third layer would be more, maybe more playing, but I would start to clarify, I think, and start looking at it a little more objectively. So I'm just taking this big scraper and flattening some of this out. Now often I apply paint with this big scraper as well, but today I'm just using it to flatten things down. I am intuitively thinking about balance when I do this. I hope you've enjoyed watching how I do get started painting an abstract. I don't always start the same way, but just really putting colors down and responding to the last mark I made. Thanks for watching.